I'm meant to present. Am I not?
Yeah, I was about to ask you, yeah, whether you've got your portfolio ready to be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
before we move on to the the actual, well, the presentation, and you describing me what you've got today. Just a little bit of like a presentations, just to as an icebreaker, and get some add some more context. Yeah, do you mind introducing yourself? I mean, I know who you are, but
Yeah.
just.
So yeah, my name is Jaden. My name is
Hmm.
Jaden. I'm a student in VAD. I'm an artist. I like to do illustration art,
Okay,
and yeah, that's really it. So yeah.
brilliant. May I ask you for your pronouns?
Him.
Okay, okay, good. All right. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for introducing, giving me more of a background of who you are. So I'll do the same. So my name is Carlos. I am a social lecturer for the BA course in Illustration and Visual Media at the London College of Communication. I mainly work with year two and year three students of the undergrad course.
Hmm.
um, I was, fun fact, I am an alumni from the same course, uh, having myself graduated in illustration and visual media BA. I also hold a diploma in comic book language and studies.
Uh,
Okay, so I assume I've already had a chance to review, like to have a quick look at your portfolio. So I believe I'm gonna be your guy today. Um, Yes, so this is me. Oh, I also work, of course, outside of university, as a freelance practitioner, uh, focusing in illustration and comics. Um, this said, yeah, off you go. Feel free to send your portfolio. So it's gonna be, quite of a chilled uh, conversation.
yeah.
Do not forget, to be clear in what you're showing me. I might interrupt you throughout the presentation if I have some
Yeah.
notes to make. And whatever we're not going to be able to discuss, I'm going to write it down for you in feedback. Okay. So we
Yeah.
can give
Okay.
each other roughly, I would say, okay, roughly half half an hour. Okay. So that we
Yeah.
have extra time to discuss. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, Jaden.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm gonna present mine here. I have it ready to present. Let me know if you guys can see it as well. So yeah. Okay. So can everybody see it? Can you see it?
Yeah, brilliant. I'm just gonna ask you, Jaden, to put on the slideshow mode.
Like this?
No, do you see on the right, top right? It says a slideshow. It's
Top right
next to,
slideshow.
like, top right of the window. You know where your account is? Oh yeah,
Ah,
great.
like so.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Talk me through it.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I'll just talk you through it. So the first thing we have right here is a piece that I was working on for a comic book I was creating, and the comic book goes by the name of The Misadventures of Mr. Benjamin, and it's basically about this boy who wants to finish off his father's book that he was writing, and he found himself in a state of writer's block. Right, he has writer's block, and then he tells himself, okay, if I want to finish off my father's book, my late father's book, then I'm going to have to go out on these adventures and go through these experiences that are going to give me things to write about. And he finds himself in a plethora of misadventures and ridiculous endeavors and experiences. So this is a page from that comic, and he encounters a monster right here. He's with a group of basically people who want to protect their village from monsters, and he's just in a situation where he doesn't really know what's going on. As you can see, there's ridiculous amounts of shock in his face. He's sweating, he's dripping. I decided to really put a lot of emphasis on this piece right here, by using techniques like I believe it's not cross hatching, but it's a form of hatching. Where the lines keep on going down on the character's face, and I believe that really
Yeah.
accentuates
They're
the
called they're called
yeah.
sorry, they're called kinetic or kinesthetic lines.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
no
So
problem.
yeah, and yeah, as you can see, there's another, another character here who's also in shock. And the beast, he says these words, he'll eat the filthy humans, and everybody's just in shock. Everybody's scared, right? And yeah, this is also, a chance for, the character to explain what's going through his mind as well. So yeah, I think I thought it was a very interesting page, so I decided to put it up there. And yeah, um, I'll go on to the next one. So this right here was a piece that I actually did very recently. I did it around 2 days ago, I believe. And yeah, right here, it was basically to do with the project we're working on right now, our Unit 5 project. And it's around the theme of home and shelter. Now you must be thinking, wait, how does this relate to home and shelter? Well, what I was doing was I was looking at the theme of steampunk, which is like a type of artistic genre in a lot of, mainly a lot of old pieces of fiction, I'd say. And in a lot of the steampunk works, I noticed that there was a lot of airship, zeppelin contraptions, a lot of contraptions that wouldn't really be around this day and age because really and truly they're kind of impractical, right? We have the airplanes. Um, I was watching a movie from Studio Ghibli, which was I believe it was, I forgot which one it was, something like Castle in the Sky, and in that movie, there was a lot of airship designs like this, right? And I thought to myself, how am I going to relate this to the theme of home? Well, personally, in my experience, I've known people that tend to live life on the run, not on the run, but more so like live life on the go. They don't really have one place or one house that they live in. They're always moving, right? And I think this sort of represents that type of, adventure, type of freedom, type of lifestyle that only a few people really, really know what that's like. So yeah, in this piece, I decided to, really go crazy with the cross hatching. It's like an airship in the sky. It was almost as if they're trapped between clouds, and the clouds there's a little bit of lightning in them. So, in this sort of endeavor that these people are going on, there's a sort of danger to it as well. And I really tried to put some emphasis on the enclosement that the clouds were having onto the ship itself to just give off that sort of trapped type of feeling, that trapped type of vibe, type of energy. And yeah, I finished it off with the cross hatching with loads of like different types of shading and cross hatching in there as well. I thought that gave it a lot of like nice 3D style to it as well. And yeah, that's that one. And right here, we have a piece that doesn't necessarily relate heavily to my work. It's sort of a piece that I decided to do myself just because it was in relation to a comic I was doing. Now this piece is from a comic I was working on, or a comic that I'm currently working on, called Spellbound. Now it's basically about a boy who goes to a magical school, right? And he goes on loads of adventures, loads of endeavors. But this piece right here was how I imagined a magical action scene would look like. Because I thought to myself, it's easy to do an action scene in a comic book where one character is making physical contact with another, but in this case, they're using magic, right? So they're going to be wizards, they're going to be witches, and most of the time they're going to be throwing magic spells at each other, like Harry Potter, right? So I imagined, okay, how would that even look in a comic book scene? That'd look a bit interesting, wouldn't it? So right here, I've drawn multiple different instances of the character's arms moving, swaying up and down, um, you know, blocking different types of spells that have come in its way. As you can see, this character right here, he's frantically just throwing different types of spells that all have different types of effects. Some effects are like that they'd have a physical damage. Some other effects would be that they'd give the character a sort of impediment, something like that, right? And yeah, I just have loads of different speed lines and sparks that are just flying around. It's a very dynamic piece in my opinion. And yeah, we've got some typography here as well, whoosh, which basically is a sound that the ones are making, and loads of exclamation marks that really just that tell the audience what kind of vibe this is, an aesthetic that it's going for. That tell the audience that both characters here are in immense danger. Let's go up to. Hold on a minute. I lost it. Yeah, there it is. And yeah, that's that one right there. Um, I'd say it's probably one of my favorite pieces as well, just because it looks quite cool in my opinion. And yeah, let's go down to the next one. So right here was a piece that I actually completed yesterday. When I was in school, I completed it. I didn't get a chance to photograph it perfectly. I was in a bit of a rush, but yeah, this piece is from another comic book I was working on, called Sekai. Now, this comic book is very interesting. This is probably one of my main types of comic books that I put a lot of time to back in the day when I was younger. I started working on it when I was like 8, and it's on Webtoon. You can read it on Webtoon. But basically, yeah, it's another comic book that's about adventure, exploration. These are the themes that I really like to implement into my works because I do feel like, you know, that's a big part of life in my opinion, adventure and exploration. Like, I believe that everyone should travel the world sometime, and this comic is basically what it's about. In this page right here, so we have our main character. His name is Orange because that's my favorite color, orange. So I named him after my favorite color. In this piece right here, it's a very dynamic piece. It's you might not be able to see it properly, but right here he's hanging off of a rope, right, and he's in like a rather intriguing background, right? Obviously, you can see the landscape is not it's not natural. These like pillars, these pillars that are just shooting out of the ground. You don't really see that in everyday life, and that's the sort of adventure aspect that I decided to work with. Um, yeah, so as you can see, he's hanging down a rope that's being. You might not be able to. I mean, you can probably tell what's going on. So yeah, he's hanging down a rope that's basically being carried by an airship, which is obviously, it's made apparent with the other airships in the
Jaden,
back. Yeah,
sorry, can I interrupt you very
yeah,
quick?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you just touched on a major point. You just said it yourself that I can see what's going
Hmm.
on the image. So I'm just gonna stop you there. Um, when presenting work, um, it's good to contextualize as you do. So with
Yeah,
every other piece, you're giving me context, but it's not necessary to go to the very details in, oh, there's a rope and there's a character and there's
mm,
um because what you're doing in that case, you are taking away from the viewer's experience,
I see.
and that clearly showcases that you're very excited and proud about your work, which I commend. It's always good to be confident. I don't want you to be overly confident, because
Mm,
as a result, I know it's like quite a paradox. You want to get us engaged, you
yeah.
get us, you're gonna push us away. Okay, so rather than describing, otherwise, you're giving me a lecture of your work.
Mm,
I would like maybe to understand better how you approach your art, and
I see.
maybe that's what portfolio should do. It's not just, oh, I did this piece where two characters are fighting because there is magic, and then there is, okay, I can see that, unless it has, like, an underlying meaning that is not clearly stated. you know this piece is, I don't know, um, this piece is an allegory about world peace. I don't know. Cool. In that case, it's interesting for me. So I'm seeing a lot of the content.
Mm,
I want to see what's around it. Okay. I'm just gonna check how far into your portfolio we are. So there's still quite a lot to cover. So I'm not gonna dwell into what I mean now. I'm just gonna let you continue. I don't want to stop your flow. But
yeah,
just,
yeah,
yeah, just remember, try to give me information about what's around here. Like, you never mentioned, like, how do you work, as
yeah,
in
yeah.
digitally or analog?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I guess I should go into that now. I do both, right? I do
But
both digital and both traditional or analog.
hmm
Uh, and recently I've been focusing more on the traditional side of
yeah,
things because
okay,
I do. Yeah, yeah.
okay, good. So now you're feeding me context, which again is self-explanatory. I know you drew with a biro pen, of course. um, but you need to find a middle ground, like what to keep from us because it's not really relevant, it's not your place to tell us,
Mm.
and what actually, as opposed to that, what would be important for us to know. So your
Yeah.
process, how you got there, the techniques that you use, how quick you are, or whether something took you time. You mentioned, and you do mention that, like, oh, even like, oh, this is something I finished yesterday, cool. um so yeah, think about these. Also, how many, just out of curiosity, how many comics are you working on at the moment? Because you said, oh, this is something I'm working.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So at the moment, I'm only working on one. I'm only working on one comic at the moment.
Okay.
But when I talk about multiple comics, I'm just meaning it just means that I've been, the multiple comics that I've worked on previously. That's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. um to avoid any confusion, what I want you to do, I see a lot of art. I think this portfolio so far, I know it's a work in progress, is lacking written information.
Mm,
Again, I'm never going to end up stressing this out. I've saying this to every student I talk to today. Remember that there might be instances in life. You are, and I mean this in a good way, you're a charmer. Like, you got my attention as usual. I like your confidence. I asked some students earlier to present themselves, and they were like, oh, I don't know, let's say I'm Abby. I don't know, right? And I was like, okay, see what I did. And that's exactly what you did. Hi, I'm Jaden. I'm studying this and this and this and that. I'm doing that and that and that. Okay. So the confidence is there. So that's why I mean you're a charmer, because you clearly know how to talk to an audience. There might be instances though in the future where you won't have a chance to do so. Like some interviews, like some courses don't even have interviews. Okay.
mm,
They only have an online submission of your work. Like my course, I believe we don't have interviews. In that case, there will be your work alone to talk on your behalf. And if this is what you're presenting me, yeah, I could take time to appreciate the art, but I wouldn't know anything else about you or what you do. So maybe consider, like, you don't have to. On the other hand, I don't want you to write an essay because you're applying for art schools. uh, but you need to contextualize. So, for instance, you started off by mentioning, all right, this is my comic titled blah blah. Where's the title?
mm.
Like, you, especially if you are the creator, you created like the mythology, the in universe rules, the narrative. Okay, you described it to me, but you only did it by voice. Okay, so I had to look at your art and listen to you and listen to all the events unfolding. Like, oh, okay, if you give me a visual aid, like a written text, okay,
Yeah.
it's gonna be easier for me to absorb the information. So, image, caption, title. Okay, so you put the title of your work, um, and any other relevant information. For instance, my question would be: I'm asking this as a fellow cartoonist, but I'm sure other people, because let's say I wrote a book. What's the first question people ask you? Like, I got this book. Let's pretend I wrote this. Oh, I wrote a book. My first question would be, oh my days, no, you didn't. Wow. How long was your book? How many pages was your book? So I don't have a clear, because you're presenting from multiple comics as well. Um,
Yeah.
I need to know how many pages each of these comic were. Um, I want you to specify if there were excerpts, which you did, but again, you just told me. So again, you told me like, oh, these are like pages from it. Okay, be specific. You're right. Um, excerpt from my comic, The Legend of Jaden. I don't know, and then you go like page 3. Okay, or and as well as a page. I mean, you did it earlier, right? You gave me like a crop, like a detail of a panel.
Mm.
do that. Just maybe not the same size altogether, because it's hard for me to be like, is that a page or is that, so you have a page, let's say you work in A4, I assume, or which format?
Yeah, full format. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
A4. Okay, so you might have in your presentation, let's pretend my screen is your portfolio. You have a big page, right? Full page. Maybe you have two pages, I don't know. And then maybe you have details. So again, if this is a page, okay, of your recent comic,
Mm.
you show us maybe a detail. Also, another thing that I believe, let me check very quickly, because later on there's gonna be a lot of rich pages that I
Mm.
like, um, and you're gonna have, I know because I can see already, you're gonna have inked pages and you're gonna have colored pages, right? I want to see how you got there. So later on, excuse me, later on when we move on to the following slides, that's what I would have expected. Okay, so I want you to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, it's mandatory because you're a cartoonist. Cartoonist is not just about the page, the finished page, I mean, and how cool your characters are and how cool the situations you put them are, because that's that's great. But me, you have to pretend I'm hiring you, okay? I'm your
Mm.
favorite publisher. Do you have a favorite publisher?
Um, Not particularly. No, not really.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's pretend you have one. I don't know. You want to work for Image Comics. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or you love Hellboy. Oh, I want to work with Mike Mignola and I want to work for Dark Horse.
Of
Brilliant.
course. Yeah.
And you apply and you're making a portfolio. I would probably say, oh, it's great art, as well as some might say, oh, yeah, but it needs improvement. But we have no indication whatsoever of the dedication you spend on this.
Mm.
So maybe including some images of your uh, page making process. You focus on one page, like could you go please on slides? Well, because I've got it here, and I want you to ask 15, the three triple spread color pages.
Are
Yes,
you able to see it? Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Okay, there's obviously a lot going on here.
Mm.
Talk me like Talk me through the process. I don't want to know about the narrative. I don't care about the story. You know what I mean? No hard feelings. I don't mean that I don't care
Mm.
about, but it's like at the moment I want to focus on the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk me how
So
you made this page.
I mean, yeah, yeah. So this page was done. It was done quite a while ago. I believe it was done around 2021, around that time.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Obviously, I was trying to give off a dynamic, powerful type of action scene here. The coloring. I find it was very amateur and very basic of me because this period was actually a period of time where I actually first started doing digital drawings. As you
Amazing.
can,
Yes,
yeah.
Hayden. Yes, you're giving me context. See how this conversation for me is way more interesting.
Mm.
Okay. Because what you're saying here is, yeah, it was from a few years ago. It wasn't the best coloring because, but I had just started it, and as an amateur I managed to complete this spread. And yeah, it might not be the best coloring ever, but it was my coloring. So you're doing what in academic environment is called evaluation.
Mm.
Okay, tutors, professors, they're gonna assess you on this kind of stuff. They're gonna assess you on your evaluation, and that, but not coincidentally, usually evaluations always follow your final outcome. Okay, let's put this your final outcome. Okay. um yeah, so you're talking about the coloring. Before that, was it is this again analog, digital,
Mm.
this piece here?
Yeah, yeah. So this piece is basically a mixture of both, actually.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That, as in, yeah, keep going, keep going.
yeah.
I'm
Okay,
interested.
I'll keep going. So yeah, this piece is a mixture of both. The original pages, the original sketch and ink were actually all done traditionally, right? But what I did was I scanned it in on the scanner and into the computer,
Yeah.
for the coloring to be done digitally. So that's what I did. The coloring, the shading, any extra effects, I put them in
Mhm.
digitally. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. We're getting onto something here. Um, it's good that you're bold. You know you want to dedicate the whole page to boom to your drawings. Feel free to do it. To do so. Find yourself. Find space again for a caption. Okay.
Mm.
Excerpt from whatever this comic is titled. Okay. You can either like write a sentence. Okay. I ink this comic analog, like traditionally, and color it digitally. If you don't want to spend an entire sentence to it, just very concise. Okay. Um, Analog inks or traditional drawing. Okay. Start using these terms, traditional or analog, and then comma digital coloring. Okay. And rendering if you want as well, coloring and rendering. The rendering is like what you mentioned right now, you add in all the shadows and the values. Okay. Do you have um, do you have any uh, previous steps for this story, as in before the coloring stage? Do you just have inks of this story available? Do you have just pencils, as in the
Mm.
pencil drawing, like?
Um, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I understand that would probably be perfect to put into the portfolio, wouldn't it? You know, the step by step
Yeah.
type of process. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you're giving me a lot of outcomes here, as in finished stuff. Um, I'm sure you follow like plenty of artists in your everyday life that you're a fan of. Don't you find it? There's something like, I don't know. You mentioned Ghibli. I don't know if you ever saw, you know, Hayao Miyazaki's, you know, studies, his character sheets, his rough sketches.
Mm.
Okay, his exploration, his even scrapped artworks, like, oh, I can't believe that was how he supposed to, like, maybe his first attempt at drawing Princess Mononoke was completely different from what we have now. But that's why it's interesting, because he didn't just wake up one morning and be like, I know the design of Totoro. Okay, i
Mm.
i know that, clearly went through a lot of iteration. Okay, and that's how people know he's one of the best, because he's not messing around. That guy spent many decades into perfection, like, perfecting his craft. Okay, the soon you start doing it, I'm sure you do it, but I mean, as soon as you start showing us, the, the earlier and the easier people are gonna start putting some more trust in your work, as in what I said earlier, right? Oh yeah, he's great, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna hire him because I have no indication how he works, and we're too busy to call him and be like, "Hey, Jaden, can we go for a chat?" You wanna save time and show everything you can immediately, as soon as possible. Um,
Yeah.
Another point that I would make is character design. If you're a comic, if you wanna be a comic artist, um, a bit of like concept art um, would be cool to see. I'm scrolling through your portfolio. You have anything in terms of content here? Feel free to scroll through your portfolio right now that you think matches that, like concept art or
Yeah.
study. Hmm.
I'd like to. Yeah, I think a few
Yeah, yeah,
conceptualization arts.
yeah.
This one, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
I
keep
think
going.
this one is a. I think this one is a concept art, a good concept art.
Hmm.
However, there's not like previous designs such as the sketch, such as maybe some text on about the character himself, but it is a final outcome, and yeah, it's sort of basically showing. If you look closely, I believe a close up of the character's face, and then
Yeah.
right here you have a full body drawing, over the
Yeah,
character's face.
merge it. So
Yeah.
one page. I don't really see the point of like you have this and then the following you have that. It's all
Yeah.
part. Okay. Look up for character studies in animation and in comics. Okay.
Yeah.
Look up for character sheets. Okay, what usually on a, let's say, landscape format as you have now, you have a full figure as you drew, maybe render completed, so inked and colored, like that character that you have now, with the name as well. Yes, why not? Yeah, you put the name of the character, and
Yeah.
then they have maybe a close up, just face or study of expressions. Okay, how does the character look when they shout, when they
Yeah.
yell, when they cry? Okay, all these different emotions. And maybe, yeah, you might want to have the finished outcome, the finished full render character. But again, what about the process? How
Yeah.
did you get, like, how did you end up create designing Luca the way they are? How? There must have been a process, right?
Mm.
And it's always, look up for other artists, some of the best, character designs who have created hundreds. Eiichiro Oda, One Piece, the manga.
Yeah.
You go
Yeah.
back to when he first published, um, before he even published One Piece, his first attempt at One Piece was
Yeah.
called Romance Dawn,
Yeah.
right?
It was, yeah,
Okay,
Romance Storm. Yeah.
yeah, go and look up, search for Romance Dawn. Look like all his sketches. Nami had like a robotic arm, and the drawing was, frantic and rough because he didn't really care about presenting this as a perfect final word. Sorry, final work. It was just a way for him to get ideas out there.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
want more of that. Plenty of like finished pages. Okay, I would argue maybe too many. Okay, also because it's 32 pages, as in
Mm.
pages of like portfolio pages, and you're not the only one. Don't worry, I had other students. 32 pages, it's a bit too much.
Mm. Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
focus on like maybe 20 tops. Okay, that's gonna help you if you set yourself this time kind of limitation. It's gonna help you because you're very volcanic. You have lots of energies and you need to channel it.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so think about maybe rather than 20 comic pages in total, I'm just gonna show 12, and the rest is gonna be, you know, character study
Yeah.
again, even if it's rough. Um, like, most of these characters have like these weird and creative objects, that you design, like these swords, these weapons. Where are the sketches of your weapons?
Mm.
I'm sure you spend a couple of pages like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, and designing the handle of a sword or whatever. Even this, is that a shield? This
Yeah.
character, yeah.
Yeah.
Show me, I'm sure you designed the shield. You didn't wake up again and just made it. Okay, I want, more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, once you have understood that, but don't worry, what I'm gonna do is you're gonna receive a written feedback as well.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
make sure I will include a few links to other cartoonists and illustrators so you can see what I mean about being concise,
Yeah.
explaining clearly and shortly what you've got there, and more process and research as well. You surely
Mm.
have some favorite artists, some artists that you like. Okay.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Show me a bit of, of that as well. You mentioned like Miyazaki for the design of that Zeppelin that you did.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe even a still from the movie, from the thing that actually inspired you. So I can look at it and be like, oh, I see his process of thought. Also, that way I can understand that you can do primary research. I understand that you work well with influences, that you adapt your style to other influences. Okay, there are loads of unexpressed things here that are out there. You just need to show me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Um, all right. I believe we got about like 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then I'll go on lunch finally. um, do you have any questions? Let's use this time like any more something you're curious about, even for the
Mm.
future, about your opportunities, your career choices.
Not particularly, no. But I would ask you this personal question.
Hmm.
I'd say, what do you think, Carlos, is I suppose, the best way to really and truly become a successful comic book artist, whether it's manga artist, just
Mhm.
sort of put yourself out there, but at the same time see success in all types of realms, right? What would you say is the best way?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it depends. It's really about, well, of course, being out there, you know,
Mm,
and to make your presence really loud, and I can tell you have like this personality that is strong enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna just go out there in the wild. First
mm,
thing is understand how portfolios work, okay, so that you can present and start sharing your work with others. I know that what you did that I really appreciated was that you included links, right, to your
yeah,
social, yeah, to your social medias, and to additional galleries and such. Good, okay, very good, because you are promoting yourself. That's great. So promote yourself, talk about your work, at the same time understand the best way to present it. Okay. um Take part to events, of course, like I you're not talking like to a accomplished cartoonist, as in, you won't find publications of my works, because I work for corporations. So
mm,
I work in communication, so I do like promotional internal campaigns in the form of comics. So I do already a type of comics that are not what people would expect. I have a colleague here though, whose works have been published. I know other people who do comics for charities. I know people who, so different things, not just Marvel comics, DC comics. Um, if you participate, to events, there are some fairs happening. May I ask you where you're based? Are you based in London, I assume?
yeah, in
Okay,
London,
so
yeah,
London, there are some, and let me write down a note. I've gotta have like so many links that I will provide you. Hope they're gonna be useful. I can send you maybe some contacts, some people you can follow.
yeah,
Um, I'm talking about indie, like independent kind of realities. Usually, what they do, people that are running events, independent events, it could be at pubs, could be at venues, galleries, and
yeah,
often they welcome people like independent artists and cartoonists as well as professionals. Okay, um, I met people through these events who were, excuse me, just like you, who had started, but they were given a space.
yeah,
They're given maybe a stall or a table like this large, like a meter long, but they would
mm,
have a chance to print their own zines, or comics illustrations, sell them, and make lots of friends and new contacts. Okay.
yeah, mm,
uh, have a good social presence as well, okay, as in social media presence. Funny enough, I attended one of these fairs. It wasn't, the illustrators fair. It was like a um, something organized by independent artists, but I will share
mm,
the link so you can follow them and catch up and send them a message maybe if you want.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I remember I was sitting, and next to me there was this guest, and her name is Lucy O'Sullivan, who recently published a graphic novel, and I was talking to her. She's pretty famous, and I was talking to her. Sitting, she even like lent me some of her materials. She bought some stuff from me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So we talked, and I know that she did like a special issue for Black Hammer, which is a graphic novel published by Dark Horse, which is amazing.
yeah,
And she did a special issue for Dark Hammer, so she worked with the team. And I was like, by the way, I'm such a big fan. How? And I asked her, how did you? Because you're English, of course. Dark Horse is an American reality. How did you manage? You know? And she told me that she was on Twitter back in the days when it was, still Twitter, and she just tagged the writer and creator of Black Hammer. Now I forgot his name, but she tagged him like, I am such a big fan of yours. I wish I could draw I could collaborate with you. It's such a big dream for me. And he liked the message. Then he accessed her portfolio,
Mm.
and then he sent a private message, be like, "Hey, your art is pretty cool. Want to do something together?" Okay. She wasn't. I'm telling you, she wasn't in her 20s. She's she was like older than many beginners. But now,
Mm.
boom, she started. So there's always
Yeah.
time. Don't underestimate any occasion that comes.
Yeah.
But again, you will need to push not about the quantity of what you do, because you have produced probably more pages that most of my students have ever made in one academic year. So well done. What I'm saying
That's it.
is channel your energies, sketches, thumbnails. Another thing that we haven't had the time, but I'm gonna write it. Storyboards. Do you write storyboards?
Yeah, yeah, I do write storyboards. However, I don't draw them, which is something I know a lot of artists do. They actually sketch storyboards.
Yeah,
But
do
yeah,
it. Start getting the practice of doing it. Okay,
yeah,
it's gonna be very risky, and nobody will want to work with you with an artist. I mean, that doesn't with a cartoonist that doesn't do storyboards.
yeah,
Okay, because again, they have no. There's it's like a warranty. Okay, for them,
hmm,
you're reassuring them. You're like, hey, don't worry, I got your story covered.
mm,
Yeah, these are all
yeah,
the script pages. Does this page look good? Quick storyboard. Change that. Okay. So, yeah, can you do that shot where it looks like, yeah, go, done.
yeah,
Just imagine if you were to work like like you are now in such detail and such fashion for maybe
mm,
for a big story for a publisher or whatever, and you need to speed things up. The script writer is not gonna, or the editor, they're not gonna wait for you to finish the nice ink page.
mm,
Okay, they will need to see how the story looks like, and the only way is through storyboards.
yeah, from
Okay.
start to finish. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Okay. But again, when you're showing it on a portfolio, don't show all the storyboards. Do the same as you're doing now with the finished
yeah,
page. There's nothing. Best example I can give you is the classic spread of a cartoonist presenting the portfolio.
mm,
One page, thumbnails. I tend to work with thumbnails in an A5 page, very small. I do these tiny squares so I can organize the layout on my panels. Thumbnails, storyboard, pencils, or the drawing,
yeah,
final line, aka inks, and if you want, if it's colored, colors.
yeah,
Okay, that is mandatory, especially for you. I want to see that kind of content. Okay, all right. Great, Jaden. Well, I believe we have set a bit longer than our estimated time.
mm,
Please do not forget that I will be in touch with some additional notes for
yeah,
you, or just reiterating what we discussed today. Let me say it was a pleasure for me to finally speak with a cartoonist. Very excited because you remember of me when classic thing that old people say. No,
mm.
I'm really excited for the route that you're taking. And yeah, did you have anything in mind in terms of which schools would you like to apply to?
Not particularly, no, but really and truly, I was just thinking, I could get myself out there simply through social media, but I do have a school in mind, which is Goldsmiths. I do know Goldsmith is an art college.
Yeah.
However, really and truly, it's really any art college that really can push me in that sort of illustration direction. I'd choose to go to. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Illustration would be a good option.
yeah,
Okay. Don't I know self-taught artists is really hard,
mm,
and I think that you have good eye and good sense of like storytelling and such. um
mm,
Consider about joining on maybe a illustration course and such, because
yeah,
you got the skills to be in the pool, to start like to be there with the other students. So
yeah,
you've got talent. Um but yeah, you need now is the best time for you. to reinforce, basically, aka studying drawing in a more broad sense,
Yeah.
composition, anatomy, um, reference, how to use reference. Okay, but I will let you go now. I will also spend a few notes for you, so I hope it can be helpful, and I hope this meeting was helpful for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very helpful. Thank you.
Really, no, thank you. Really, thank you for your time and for showing me your great work. Uh, don't stop here. Keep making and channel it better. Okay,
Yeah.
but I will write more about this. And thank you very much. And I will see you. Maybe eventually we'll meet you at a comic
Yeah.
con.
Maybe, Mr. Carlos. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Jaden. Well, thank you very much, and you take care. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
Thank
Like, come on. You know. What we thinking? What we drinking? Hey! Hey, Jaws manga. Might be that. Who knows? Who knows? I guess we'll never know.